Nathan, hey Nathan, this is Counselor Young. I just have to let you know I have to leave at 5.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for letting us know.
Okay, we are live now.
Great, thank you, Olawumi. So I'd like to call to order today's meeting of the Active Transportation Advisory Committee, the Halifax Regional Municipality. It's 15th of May 2025, starting at 4:35. I'm going to start with the land acknowledgement. So the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in the territory and recognises that we are all treaty people. So we'll start just by doing a quick roll call, just to make sure everyone's here, and just to do a quick sound check. Maggie Hope Simpson has already let us know she's delayed, and Sergio Sanabria is an apology for this meeting. So starting with Councillor John Young.
Here.
Thank you. Melina.
Here, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Adelaide. Adelaide. Annika Rifel. As well. Holly Woodall.
Present and accounted for.
Thank you. Elizabeth Pugh.
I'm here, and welcome to the new chair position, Nathan.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Peter Zimmer. Peter. Roseanne LeBlanc.
Hello, everyone. I'm here.
Thank you. And Glenn Babcock.
Up and running.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So just a reminder, the meeting is being broadcast and recorded for YouTube. Peter Zimmer mentioned recently in an email, might be useful if we update our taglines on our Zoom profiles just to show which organisation we represent, to help everyone understand our role on the committee here. Otherwise, jumping straight into it. So we've got the approval of the minutes from our meeting on the 17th of April 2025. Were there any, as they were circulated, are there any errors or omissions from last month's minutes? No. All right. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes as they were circulated from our meeting on the 17th of April 2025.
Also move. It's Holly.
Thank
I'll
you, Holly.
second. It's Roseanne.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Roseanne. Okay. So that, sorry, moving on to, so that is, sorry, catching myself up. Need to vote for that. All in favour of that motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion is carried. Moving on to approval of the order of business and any additions or deletions. So Olawumi, were there any additions or deletions from your office?
No, any additions or deletions from the clerk's office?
And do any committee members have any items to add for tonight's agenda?
No.
No? Great. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the agenda as circulated.
Melina will move.
Glenn can second.
Thank you, Melina and Glenn. All those in favour of the motion that the agenda be approved, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Perfect. It is carried. So business arising out of the minutes, we have none. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest that anyone would like to make based on the presentations, the agenda for tonight? No. Excellent. Consideration of deferred business. We have none. Correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Olabungi, do we have any correspondence, petitions, or delegations?
No correspondence, petitions, or delegations received from the clerk's office.
Thank you. Information items brought forward. We have none. So then moving straight into the report discussion. So tonight we have, we'll be discussing the shared micromobility pilot launch. We have a presentation from Bird Canada. So I'd like to firstly invite Brittany McLean, the project manager of shared micromobility and active transportation for Halifax Regional Municipality, to speak.
Hi, Nathan. Thank you. I will give kind of a quick intro to the project from the municipality standpoint, and then I'll welcome Austin Spademan with Bird Canada, and he has a presentation that he'll show. So just want to first start out, many of you are familiar faces. We saw each other yesterday, so we had our shared micromobility launch event to start launching the shared micromobility pilot here in Halifax. I'll give some of the facts, so forgive me if you listened to the speech yesterday, but I'll go over some of the facts with you. I think I shared some of this information at the last Active Transportation Advisory Committee meeting as well. But I just want to share that as of this morning, you can download the Bird app, find an available e-scooter or e-bike that's equipped with a helmet, unlock it, ride safely to your destination, and park in a designated zone when your ride is complete. So the pilot program is rolling out in phases to key areas of the municipality. We're launching with initial 300 e-bikes and 300 e-scooters. So the first phase, you can find it on our website. If you go to halifax.ca/shared micromobility, it'll have a lot more information, and there's a Q&A section as well that answers questions about the pilot. But the first phase includes areas in Halifax, Dartmouth, Fairview, Spryfield, Westfall, and areas of Woodside. So subsequent phases will end up expanding into communities as we go. Some of those communities in probably the second phase area will include, but not limited to, it's something that we're consistently working on, will be Burnside, into the Bedford area, and Sackville area as well. So there will be an expected concentration in the regional center. If you have been downtown Halifax or Dartmouth anytime today, you'll probably see quite a few of the devices spread out in those areas. However, an important part of the pilot is to trial this service in suburban areas as well. So over the next few weeks, kind of each day, we'll be adding more and more stations and more vehicles out. And then eventually, once we get an understanding of the ridership, we'll start looking at the additional phases. So the shared e-bikes and e-scooters will be available to riders aged 16 and over.
Excuse me, Brittany.
Yeah?
Could you maybe move your mic further or closer to you? You're coming in quite crackly.
Crackly? Is this any better?
Still a little crackly, and I believe Roseanne put it in the chat as well.
Okay. This is new. I've never had this issue before. Let me turn up my volume here.
That's actually worse.
That's
right now.
worse?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what's happening with my computer, I wonder?
I don't. Sorry to interrupt you. It's just kind of difficult to listen to.
Yeah, no worries at all. Hopefully, this has never happened with my computer before, so I'm not sure. Background noise removal. Is this any better? No?
Similar to how it was.
Okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. Oh. Okay, how's that?
Sounds the same.
Okay. I don't know if I'll be able to change it. Can you make out what I'm saying? Or is it like quite disrupted?
No, we
It's
can
quite,
make it out.
yeah, it's quite crackly, but I can understand you. Is everyone else able to understand?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
I will keep it in my back that I will try to maybe put my headphones in next time. I don't have them with me right now. In the event that you have issues hearing what I'm saying, I can.
It's actually got much worse, Brittany, just since you last started that last little spiel.
Really?
Yeah.
Hi, Brittany, maybe you should allow Austin to make his presentation.
Now you've gone off.
Yeah.
We might try come back to Brittany, see if it's any
Yeah.
better afterwards.
I guess maybe Austin should continue the presentation while you just try and fix that from your end. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So all of me, would it be possible? Just I can hotspot, but it's gonna like blow up my phone. I think to share the presentation, and I can walk everybody through it. Oh, you're the best. I was gonna make an AI joke for Brittany, but anyhow, I thought that would be funny because you did sound like a bit like a robot there at the end. But very nice meeting everybody. My name is Austin Spademan. I'm the head of government partnerships for Bird Canada. We are the e-scooter service provider servicing HRM. And so I was actually really excited to get the chance to talk with the group, and I'm going to come on camera. Actually, I just realized I'm on the road today. Just wanted to say hi so you can see my face, but I'll go off camera. And all over me, it was showing, but now it's not. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can hop right into the next slide. So, and by the way, I just wanted to check, is my audio coming through okay?
Yes, that's coming through clear.
Okay, perfect. So like I mentioned, I work for Bird Canada. You might ask yourself, what is Bird Canada? We're an electric micromobility vehicle sharing company. And the one mission that really drives us is helping provide a compelling alternative to the individual automobile trip. So, this can take a number of different forms. This could be a straight vehicle trip replacement. So somebody owns a car, they're using it for errands, but now they can use a Bird scooter to do those same errands and avoid that car trip completely. Somebody like me that doesn't own a car, but will occasionally, in cities where I'm not able to get around, use a car share service like an Uber or a Lyft, which is actually the most inefficient versus, even a direct car trip because they're just constantly driving around. We can avoid that type of trip. And then on top of that, there's somebody that's kind of in between, they would take transit, but it's just a little too far from them and they need that first last kilometer connector. So that's our mission. That's what we're looking to do in HRM, and a lot of the content that I'm going to be sharing today is really centered on achieving that mission to make cities more livable by reducing our dependency on the car. So we can go to the next slide, please. What's I think really cool about Bird Canada is that we're actually Canadian owned, operated, and invested. And so we're the only micromobility company that operates nationally from coast to coast in Canada that is actually Canadian owned. So that's not only just, I think, a cool fact, but because Canada is our home and we've really focused on this market because, this is where we're from, we have also become the biggest provider in Canada. So Halifax, if you read our press release, is actually our 26th 26th market in Canada. We have several exclusive markets outlined on the map with an asterisk indicates it's an exclusive market. So we run the full program for that city, similar to what we're doing in HRM. And across our years of operation from 2019, we know from rider surveys that 35% of our trips are direct vehicle replacements. And if you take the kilometers and the average emissions saved from those trips, it's over 2,800 tons of CO2. And we've also created 500 jobs. We're a major employer across Canada, and that's a point of pride for us. So we can go to the next slide, please. This is the team. This is who we are. So our CEO Stu was I think some of the group were at the event yesterday, and you might have seen Stuart, our CEO, Pat, our general manager, both based out of Toronto. Then we have me and Anastasia that would make up the kind of community government partnerships team. I'm based at this point across Canada. I'm all over the place. I'm technically Toronto's home. Anastasia is based out of Montreal, and Harry Baker is our local Halifax market manager. And I think just an interesting point, we're talking about a Canadian company with Canadian expertise. We actually were able to hire Harry from one of the existing former micromobility providers in Halifax and brought him into the Bird Canada team to run our market for us, which was a big kind of strategic priority for us as we were entering the Halifax market with the more regulated program. We also wanted to take the best of what had existed before, and I think Harry's a big part of that. So he's really excellent and has been kind of running the show from an operational perspective on the ground for our big launch day. We can go to the next slide, please. So, it's kind of funny. It's crazy that this industry took so long to learn this, but in Bird Canada, what was great is that we've always taken a Canadian approach, which is a more thoughtful approach to our work with municipalities. And I'm sure everybody on the call heard horror stories out of Los Angeles way back when, of scooters just getting dumped in the street without city's permission. I'm really happy to say in Canada that never happened because Bird Canada always took a collaborative approach, and it's very simple. We have 4 things that are really, really important to us and that we don't compromise on. The first being safety. We do not use contract labor or gig labor. All of our employees are Bird Canada employees, and that allows us to ensure that vehicles are always in a great state of maintenance, that they're in good working order. And they're, of course, also designed to be ridden quite heavily. They're industrial quality, which makes for a safe program. And the second pillar, customer obsession, there's actually multiple customers. And the first and most important customer, believe it or not, is the municipality. HRM is our #1 customer, because if we can make a program that works for HRM successfully and lean into, regulatory asks, we can create a long-term viable program that grows with the city and is successful with the city. And so that's our first customer. The second customer is our riders, and I would say all of the next layer of customers are the same priority, but our riders, of course, are a big priority for us. But then the community at large is our third customer. Realizing that having a program that is catered towards riders trying to get out of the car impacts or can have impacts on all members of the community, including the accessibility community. It's really important to keep that in mind because we need a program that works for everybody, again, for that long-term success. We want to be in Halifax for years and years to come, so we have to make the program work for everybody to be successful in that goal. Then the third pillar is, of course, sustainability. Devices that last for years equals a sustainable device that we can basically pay off the carbon emissions from manufacturing through our vehicle miles avoided by having the device on the road for over 5 years. That's really important. And then the second thing is making sure we're integrating with transit and ensuring that we can really serve that first mile, last mile connectivity to make a sustainable program that is a compelling reason for people to get out of the car. And then the last component is equity. You hopefully have heard, and we're going to talk about our Flex Fare program, and that's just basically zones set throughout the city that basically enable people in certain communities that start or end a ride within that zone to get an automated discount on their ride. We also have community pricing and bird access programs, and all of those are catered towards a variety of different groups, including, people that are low income, people that are newcomers to Canada, students, veterans, people that identify as disabled, ensuring that we have a very affordable service for those members of the community, to basically serve them equally to somebody that is riding, doing well for themselves and riding to work every single day. Both of those customers are equal in our eyes, and we have programs to ensure that our service is equally as accessible to different groups of people. So with that said, we layer it all on top of best-in-class operational focus to make, for long-term programs. We're the only provider in Canada that's been consistently servicing cities since 2019 because we've never lost a market. And we do it because we have it that way because we have excellent operators behind us. With that said, we can go to the next slide. Okay, the Bird 4 scooter. So we've got, hopefully you've seen our products out on the street, but this is one of our scooter devices. And, what's cool is we've got a bunch of different tech in it. There's actually, believe it or not, over 200 sensors in this device that tells us a whole bunch of information. And can do a whole bunch of things that are really important to making sure we're successful in terms of our regulatory asks from HRM, including controlling exactly where that device can park, controlling exactly where that device can and cannot go. We're going to talk about that more in other slides, so I think we could just skip to the next slide. It's more of a visual of what our device looks like and some high-level information, but if we go to the next slide, that's our bike. I don't want to scare anybody. It has a ton of tech. It has the same amount of sensors, but at the end of the day, I think hopefully everybody's familiar with a bike. It's just a pedal assist e-bike. It has all of the same tech under the hood as the scooter, but it's more of I think your standard e-bike look and feel, and you'll see these on the streets as well. So it's, again, just more. We're going to talk about the technology behind it, but just more of a visual of what our devices look like. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so. And if you're familiar with geofencing, forgive me, but if I like to give an explanation for people that might not be familiar with what geofencing is. Geofencing is basically drawing a square on a Google map, and you say, on this square, I want the scooter to do the following behavior. Either it can slow down, it can completely stop, or you could do a mix of things, but you could do a stop and you can't park it, or you can park it only in a certain area. So it's basically controlling the behavior of the scooter. So we have that set up and active in Halifax to control different things. So as an example, if you were to try to ride on the waterfront, your device would slow down to 10 kilometers an hour. And so, the behavior is going to be different depending on where you are within the city. And we've built that in collaboration with HRM and other stakeholders like Dalhousie, has given us a lot of feedback around campus and how the scooter should behave on campus. So with that said, we can go to the next slide. So what's really interesting, and not to get too into the weeds here, is a GPS actually is not perfect. In a city like Halifax, you've got tall buildings that actually blocks the satellite from seeing the scooter, which impacts the GPS level of accuracy. So you go from a range of like 2 meters of accuracy, and you can have that range grow with bad GPS line of sight from the satellite to 10 meters. That's not good enough. 10 meters is not enough for me to confidently say this is the sidewalk, this is the road, or this is this pathway and slow speed zone versus this pathway, which I don't want the scooters to ride on. So if we go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. Actually, you were on the right side. Sorry, my apologies. I think I was lagged. I just caught up and saw both slides click through. If we could go back. Sorry, my apologies. But basically, we're leveraging a vehicle location system that takes all of the data from the device and gets our satellite blind spots. It fills in the blanks effectively with data that we have stored on the device to get us to 1 to 2 meters of accuracy, which is enough to say this is the sidewalk, this is the road. And basically that high level of GPS is what makes us special and is why we've won this bid. We can demo this technology. It exists throughout Canada, and we have it in Halifax live from day one. So there's another crucial piece of technology, and that's on this next slide, which is our virtual parking system. So this is really cool. This is sci-fi. You kind of have to experience this on your own to really believe it. But basically, what we do is we've partnered with Google AI, and we basically take GPS information to say, okay, you're roughly close to the parking zone, but then we make you actually scan your surroundings. And it's basically using augmented reality and Google Street View. And you scan your surroundings, and we can get your parking level down to the centimeter in terms of accuracy to ensure that your device is parked correctly out of the public right of way on the side of the sidewalk that's been designated as a parking area with HRM. So this technology is live, it's in Halifax, it's in our parking zones, and it's across the HRM. It's going to help ensure that that kind of friction that exists with the programs, if it's a dockless system, is controlled. And I call them digital docks. It's not a physical docking station, but it's basically, with this technology, you have a digital docking station that's highly controlled. And in certain areas, you're not allowed to park your device outside of one of these stations. And that creates for a really effective parking plan for the city. So it's an important piece of technology. All right, we could go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what our program is going to look like in the future. So I hope what you're seeing is a super robust program with lots of parking stations, lots of thought around sort of ensuring that everybody has equal access to our devices. So we've actually built this map and kind of I think the word partnership is accurate. We built it in partnership with United Way Maritimes to basically focus it around their sort of neighborhood hubs, which are kind of equity seeking and equity deserving communities that they've identified. And we've made sure to include all of this in a robust map. But of course, you might have noticed from our press release and materials available, or you might have just looked at our app, that that's not what the map looks like today. There's an important reason behind that. That's because to make a program successful, low and slow is the approach. So we're starting in a smaller area, and we're planning on expanding as we go on with the program with more devices and more area which those devices will serve over time. It's been incredibly successful to not just dump all of our permitted scooters into the downtown core day one and let's figure it out. We have a really regimented plan that's built into phases, and that's going to create a more successful program where we're kind of learning in smaller doses, adjusting as per feedback that we're receiving, and then growing from that point. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I mentioned our programs, and then I have what we actually called it in our application, but we're really kind of branding this as our community pricing options. So we do have an existing bird free access plan that provides free rides for eligible groups, which is just completely for free 30-minute rides per day. I have to say that slowly because it's a bit of a tongue twister. But basically, we're going to be working with United Way Maritimes as our primary partner to kind of make sure that members of different community groups, including those with low income, so newcomers, people that are identified as disabled, veterans, senior citizens are all able, and First Nations, I missed an important group there, are all able to enroll and get onto that bird access program. We try to make it a really easy process. There's two ways to do it. Somebody can email proof to access@bird.co, but we're actually working with this is very exciting for me. We're working with United Way Maritimes to have members of those communities opt in to provide their emails. And basically, we're going to bulk upload emails that we receive that are interested in enrollment that have been kind of validated through our partner, United Way Maritimes, into our access program. So they instantly they don't really have to do anything other than just share their email, and they'll be set up on the program. So that's kind of exciting. But I realize even still, an enrollment process is it's a step, and I don't like steps, and I like things to be easy. So we also have what we would call, from an industry term, equity zone pricing, although that creates a sort of othering effect. So like the official title and what we're branding it in our app is Flex Fare Zones. Flex Fare Zones just allow you to if you start or end a ride, you don't have to do anything. If you're within that zone, you get a 50% discount. Easy peasy, no work required, no special enrollment required. And so that's kind of the other major program. It's for more people because there's actually no enrollment. It's super seamless, and I'm really excited. And those are the blue blobs, I'll call them, on the map. I hope everybody can see it on the right-hand side. So those are those blue areas. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So I mentioned United Way. It's actually United Way Maritimes. I need to correct that. That's the preferred title, but United Way Maritimes has been an excellent partner. They're a primary partner. We're also working with the Ecology Action Center to do free bike rides and cycle safety tours. We've got a bunch of fun stuff upcoming with them. For Fusion Halifax, we're working on community engagement events, again, where we can do signups into our programs for eligible community members. So we can just handle that through actually events, and we do safety demonstrations, which is always really nice. And then for Nova Scotia Community College, it's more of a research-based partnership. So it's our way of giving back to students. We're really helpful as like a sort of research partner for students doing maybe their masters or looking to just understand or build a business case around something or experiment with something. If they can use our devices, we love to plug in, arm them with the data that they need to get the insights that they're looking to drive, and basically helping them with their projects. And so we're really excited by that as well. We can go to the next slide. I think this is actually pretty much it. Oh, this is really important for the group. The 311_Halifax@birdcanada.co. That's an email that everybody should have access to. We want the whole community to have access to it, because if you email that email, it literally goes to me, Pat, our Stuart, our CEO, Pat, or who is our general manager, Harry, and literally every single driver and maintenance worker and Safe Streets team member we have in the city of Halifax. It will go to everybody at the same time. And the reason why that's the best way to communicate with us is because you're talking directly to the entire operations team at the same time. And if there's an issue, we endeavor to resolve it within 15 minutes, especially during I would say regular daytime hours, or we're always endeavoring for 15 minutes, but we've actually managed this SLA for years now. And our evidence and receipts are actually on the right, because we're looking to dazzle and delight people with how fast we are to respond to feedback and issues within the community. And that's a really important strategic imperative for us, working for everybody in that theme, as I mentioned, as a customer. So basically, this is a very effective way to communicate with us. We're not also saying don't contact the city. Of course, there's the regular 311 process, but as you can imagine, even if you're dealing with the regular 311, they need to contact us after. So why not talk directly to us? By the way, this also, you might say to yourself, but I want it logged in the system. We report any email to this inbox to Brittany and HRM overall to log it as part of the kind of formal data collection method about feedback from the community. So it still gets shared with the city regardless. So we like to be an engaged community member. That means you should be able to directly reach out to us. Of course, every scooter also has a phone number on it, a 24/7 hotline, customer service line that also goes to our operation team. But, I'm just providing the emails our favorite because it just sends an automated message to everybody in operations. It's a really effective way to get us visibility to what's going on. So I just wanted to mention that. And I think that's it. Yeah. So I know that's a lot. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how it works. Are we allowed to do Q&A or?
Yeah, thanks, Austin. That was great. I might just throw back to Brittany if Brittany you wanted to try continue your bit, see if the sound's any better.
Okay, I'm gonna try. How is this sounding?
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, okay. If it starts breaking up again, I'm gonna use my phone and I'll just log in via my phone. So keep an eye on me and someone yell out if my feed starts breaking up again. Thank you, Austin. Thanks for the presentation. A lot of great information there. What I was trying to get out earlier was just a couple of facts. I don't know if you want me to share just in 2 minutes. I'll wrap it up really quick, and then Nathan, if you want to go through the committee.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
sounds good.
at what point did I start breaking up in my speech? Did I talk about the areas where the first phase will be launching?
It was a little hard to hear, but
Okay.
yeah, I think that was roughly where you're up to. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go from there. So I'll just spit out some quick facts. Right now, in the first launch, we're looking at 300 e-scooters, 300 e-bikes. That fleet size will start growing, and like Austin said, the map in the service area will start growing as well. So we will update the public when we launch into the next subsequent phases. The first phase, though, covers Halifax, Dartmouth, Fairview, Spryfield, Westfall, and Woodside. And then from there, we're looking at expanding into Burnside, Bedford, and Sackville, and then beyond those. So the service area, because it's a pilot, I feel like that's maybe the main thing to focus on here, is that this is a pilot program. We're going to be exploring things that work, understanding things that need a little bit of extra attention, and working on where demand is and where those barriers exist. So the actual phasing in the service area is kind of an organic area that we'll be adjusting as we go. Also, quickly, the devices will be available to riders aged 16 and older. There is a caveat there. So those who are aged 16 or 17 require a parent or guardian to sign a waiver on their behalf. Also, Bird's devices come with a helmet you can use. You can also bring your own helmet as well. They can be ridden on all cycling infrastructure, on roads that are 50 kilometers an hour or less, on multi-use pathways that are adjacent to roads, and on paths in some parks. So the parks where e-scooters are allowed in will have, some of them have like the painted stencils on the ground. You can also go to our website at halifax.ca/shared micromobility. And it'll send you to a link of the parks that e-scooters are being piloted in, and you'll be able to ride them in. One caveat as well that I wanted to mention is that devices are not permitted on Halifax Transit, so buses or ferries. I think that's probably it for now for what I'll share on the municipality's behalf. And then I'm sure everyone has lots of questions and comments and feedback. So thank you, Nathan, for the time.
Thanks, Brittany, and thanks, Austin. Thanks for the updates. It's all very exciting to hear. I saw a lot of the committee members were at the event in person yesterday, which was nice to see as well. So we'll go into questions. So members can speak for 5 minutes the first time we run through the list, followed by 3 minutes in the second round. So I'll just run through. We'll have a chance to ask questions. So I believe Councillor John Young has left. Adelaide Burkham hasn't joined. So Holly Woodall.
Yes, my only comment is that all e-vehicles, they do not emit a sound, which is very annoying when they're coming up behind you or around you at any point if you're blind. It should be legislated that electrical vehicles should emit a sound, in my opinion. But that's the only comment I have. Thank you. It seems like a nice program, though.
Thank you, Holly. That's a great point. Annika, thanks for joining us.
Hi, sorry about that. Got a little tied up there. I had a question. I'm sorry if this was already addressed. Around the weight capacity of the things, someone had flagged that there's a limit of 250 on them, and so I was just wondering if I could get some clarification around that.
Yeah, sorry, and I should just have I have a procedural question. Through the chair, can I answer one by one, or do we want to do it all at the end? I just want to make sure I don't break procedure and go off the cuff here.
No, sorry about that. Yeah, please answer one by one.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
yeah, as it
Sorry.
comes up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Feel
so
free to
through
jump
the
in.
chair, through the chair. Thank you very much for the question. So they are 200 rated for 250 pounds. That's part of the certification process. Although I have to say in practice, they're actually engineered for more. That's like a margin of safety thing. They're engineered for much more than that. But that's kind of like the official capacity. That there's actually an important reason behind that, and that's actually for double riding behavior, which is something that this is more speaking to scooters. Double riding is something that's absolutely forbidden through the rules of the program, and so that there's actually a way, and this technology isn't live yet because of privacy reasons, frankly, but basically through different sensors on the scooter, you can detect a sudden jump in weight. So we've been looking at a technology that actually could potentially shut down the device if there was a sudden shift in weight on the device. So indicating that a second person has hopped on. And so all that is part of the reasons behind that recommended weight cap, although, like I mentioned, they're engineered for more than that.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that I was surprised. I was like, that feels like not that much weight, but the reasoning makes sense there. And I was like, they're pretty beefy vehicles, so I was surprised that they couldn't handle more weight than that.
In practice, they certainly can, I can say. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annika. Elizabeth?
No, nothing from me. Thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it.
Peter?
Yes, thanks. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a couple questions. I opened your app and I'm looking around it, and all of the parking spaces seem to be at the initial scale identical. That is, there isn't a color differentiation on the map I'm seeing between the spots that are parking spots for the scooters versus parking spots for bikes. If I zoom in and click on it, it will tell me whether there's bikes there or scooters there. But I think what the slide you showed us showed a differentiation, saying, oh, if it's a red spot, it's a bike, and if it's a blue spot, it's a scooter. It'd be nice if that was restored on the system. The other question I'll pose to you is, what's the seasonality of the service? Are the bikes and scooters going to be out there in the winter, or do they close at some time in the fall and reopen sometime in the spring?
Through the chair, thank you very much, Peter, for the questions. So the first one, actually on that map, it was the colored pins were actually representing different types of what we would call docking infrastructure, and so we're going to be hopefully in the future experimenting with different types of parking technologies that are going to exist or be developed because our industry is changing so much. So that's actually what those were displaying. And your feedback around the bikes versus scooters and seeing which one's which is actually super helpful. We're actually doing an app refresh to try to make that visibility better for people in the app. So hopefully we've got some promising changes coming soon there. And then to your second question about seasonality. So right off the bat, seasonal business for sure. Not in the sense that we stop in the winter, though, importantly. It's just, I think everybody can imagine summer you'll have more ridership than winter almost always. So And this is a bit of an aside, but it's kind of a funny story. An American competitor in the market was really excited and talking to a city council about their winter operations and, how they were really excited. And it was kind of funny. I came in and said, you could tell the company's American because they're talking about winter operations, where for us, much like, Americans call it ice hockey, we just call it hockey. It's just operations for us. So with that said, we operate in Calgary year round, Edmonton, 11 months out of the year, and in Mississauga year round as well. So those are all year round markets. And I think I don't want to speak, maybe actually, not to kick it over to Brittany, or Brittany can speak to it from the HRM perspective, but we'd be very interested in exploring how things are going to look in the colder months. And I think they're in Halifax and HRM, there are snow events. So in snow events, we must stop service, just a safety issue. We do not run when there's snow accumulation on the ground. So there will be days we're certainly not operating, but I think we're interested in exploring kind of as much of the season as humanly possible where we're kind of operating and servicing transportation needs in the community. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. If you want me to add anything there. So like we said, it's a pilot. It's a chance to explore what's working, what's not working. Obviously, there will be snow events, and it'll be, the municipality saying, "Hey, Bird, let's get the devices stored for a little while and wait until snow is cleared." But the goal is to have this accessible to as many people as possible for as long as possible. So we'll definitely be working throughout the winter months with Bird to try to make that happen.
Great. Thank you. So moving on to Maggie. Thanks for joining us as well. Any questions?
Hi, yeah, thanks. That's great to hear the presentation. Thank you for that, and the other questions as well. Really great questions. Can you hear me there, Nathan? Yeah, great. Yeah, I don't really have any questions. Just a comment though, and I guess this is probably not one that the presenter can answer, but maybe for HRM, if it's Brittany or yourself, even Nathan, just around the kind of the lag between having this pilot rollout, which is very exciting and welcome, and then I guess the development of more safe biking and scootering infrastructure in the province, HRM in particular, but just protected bike lanes and that kind of thing. So I don't know if anybody can comment on the kind of timelines in that rolling out a bit more. I'm not as familiar with it as I'm sure most of you are. I don't know if that's a clear question or who wants to take that or.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Through the chair, I can give a bit of background. And then I noticed that David McIsaac is here, who's the manager, was manager of Active Transportation, is still representing Active Transportation, and has the background information on a lot of the infrastructure projects that are happening. But from Shared Micromobility's point of view, one of the exciting things about this is the data collection that we'll be getting. So we'll be able to tell, areas where the devices are being used at what time of day they're being used, where the trips are, so that we're understanding, what infrastructure is existing that's being used really well or has high demand, or some areas where, we find out, a lot of these micromobility devices are being used in this section. Let's maybe, we've got that data now. So it'll be helpful to have in our back pocket when looking at projects going forward. David, did you want to add anything to that?
No, it's a great question, and we will continue to be working to add more, to build up the network, make the connections in the All Ages and Abilities Network, bicycling network, and I guess e-scootering network. And one of the things I would say is, we're probably a little bit behind other cities in terms of introducing shared micromobility, and one of the reasons for that is because we thought we needed to focus at least getting some of the All Ages and Abilities Network in first. So, I think we're getting the new e-scooter and bike share services at a time when we're getting close. We're not there by any stretch of the imagination, but we're hitting critical mass in some corridors. And I think having more people using these devices, it's an opportunity to sort of get more converts to bicycling and e-scootering and help kind of support the case for more infrastructure. So they go in hand for sure. And I'm really, I don't check the bike counter numbers. I check them like once a month, if that. But now I'm really interested in seeing, how they change with this new service out there.
Excellent. Great. No, thank you both for those responses. That's perfect.
All right. Thank you. Roseanne?
Thanks. I have a couple of comments. First of all, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to attend the launch event. So I'd be interested to hear from committee members who were there about how you felt it went, what were the highlights, what was the learning for you. I'd be interested kind of what your take was on the launch. And second question, and I guess it's maybe for Brittany. I know that this is a pilot project, so could you talk a little bit about the metrics that you're going to be using in order to determine whether or not it's a success, kind of what milestones you need to be hitting? Because you talked about the phased approach being kind of organic and kind of rolling out as you learn more. So what are those metrics and what are those milestones you're looking at to determine if it's a success, when it's a success, how you're going to be rolling it out?
Yeah, thank you, Roseanne. Through you, Nathan. The event was super well attended, actually. We had quite a few people come out. It was really great. We had the mayor give a few words. We had the CEO of Bird fly in to give a few words. And then we had representation from United Way Maritimes to also give a few words. When I was speaking with the general manager of Bird, who was there as well, he said, this was probably one of the highest attended launches that they've had in Canada. And this would be, I think, Austin, the 28th launch. So that was kind of exciting. Halifax really showed up for the event, which was really great. I noticed quite a few people actually took the devices out and tested them. We had a few members of council who took them out and tested them as well. So that was really great to see. So yeah, I would say all around it was a really well-attended event and we were quite excited about it. As far as project evaluation, so the project will be evaluated against like key progress indicators. So those would be based on municipal policy goals within the integrated mobility plan, and then Halifax, which is the municipality's climate adaptation plan. So there's goals in there for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions through transportation, decarbonizing transportation. So this will be evaluated against those criteria. Some of the indicators that we further break it down into, though, that we'll be looking at metric-wise are like ridership, accessibility and convenience of the program, the availability of vehicles for all communities, how it's working and integrating well with existing transit, be it the ferry service, how multimodal transportation is working. Also existing transportation infrastructure, how well that's being integrated into that as well, and how well it's being ridden with the new devices within the municipality. And then finally looking at how many trips, how much greenhouse gases are actually reduced based on the trips. So we're interested in trying to get those metrics so we can understand, there were X amount of trips within this year, and those resulted in X amount less vehicle trips using personal vehicles. And so we can do a calculation based on that. So again, I know I keep saying it, but a key factor of this, you're right, like it is a pilot program. And so part of the evaluations too, we'll be looking at all of those key metrics, but then a large part of it is understanding how the community is interacting with the service. So you'll see at some point, we're surveys. So you'll see that Bird does like user surveys through their app, and when you register with your email, HRM will likely be doing some surveys. We also are gathering feedback through anything that comes into 311, anything that's coming into Bird's 311 system. There's also my personal email and contact information on our website. So we're kind of taking everything from those channels, so qualitative and quantitative information there that we're going to be looking at in order to understand how the pilot's working and what we need to be working on and updating.
Nathan, do you mind if I just add to Brittany's answer there?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not sure if you said it, Brittany, but I think one of the things that we really want to find out is who is using them and if our accessibility objectives around lower income folks are being met. And then the one I really wanted to highlight is right now, regardless of for any kind of collision or incident involving someone walking or bicycling or e-scootering, there's not great data. We don't get great data from the health system or from police reports and that sort of thing. So we're using this pilot project as an opportunity to hopefully potentially work with a post-secondary institution who will work with frontline folks at emergency rooms to collect better information and data that, will, I think, help on the shared mobility front, but it's going to help us on a lot of road safety objectives. So just to kind of highlight for the committee that this is, safety is a big factor, and we're hoping that we can use this project as a leveraging point for better data overall. And I'm hoping we can come back in a year with a presentation to this committee on how that's working out, because that's an important part of it, and one that I'm interested in seeing us make some progress on.
Thank you. I have one quick follow-up question, and it's just, I think, because I'm new to the committee and new to the project and just trying to understand the process. So is there kind of a formal process to come forward with a report on the pilot, kind of outlining all of those metrics before, the areas are expanded, or is that a process? Would it come back to this committee in terms of looking at those metrics and then making a formal decision around moving forward, or?
So I might just jump in real quick, Roseanne. So we can raise a motion to request a report from council. But I'm not sure what, maybe Brittany can speak to the plans they have set.
Yeah, essentially, and I might get David to step in here too as how the process will work, but essentially we'll be looking at all of the key progress indicators and evaluating all of the program. So right now, the pilot is approved by council for 2 years. So after the 2 years, we'll have 2 seasons, like 2 summer full seasons, winter seasons of data and evaluation that we'll then bring to council, and then it'll be council's decision. Where's this going to go next? What's their decision with shared micromobility in general? David, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think you're right, but we make this committee makes requests for presentations from staff all the time, and this is one that we're happy to come back at any point, not every meeting, but you want us back in the fall to give an update on how things are going, just submit your request to the chair and the clerk, and I'm pretty sure we can get Brittany or folks from Bird Canada to come in and give the committee an update. We'd be happy to do that.
Great. That's really helpful information for me. Thanks, as a new committee member. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the information. Moving on, Glenn.
Let's see. So I've got 30 or 40 items here. No, not really. So the first point that was raised was about them being silent or quiet. That was going to be one of the things that I was going to ask about. But had it already asked, what I wanted to modify my question to is, are the bikes and scooters equipped with bells?
Sorry, we're trying to find the mute button through the chair. Yes, they all have a
The
bell.
silence was worrying me there for a second.
No, I trust me. I was saying yes right away, and then I realized I was on mute, of course. So forgive me. But yes, they all have a mechanical bell on them.
Okay, so that's good. So now that means that we have to rely on the people using the bikes and the scooters to have manners and to exhibit good biking etiquette. So I know as someone who regularly has minor heart attacks when bikes zip past me on walking trails and stuff like that, that I really appreciate it when they ring the bell far enough away from me, and then they call out and tell me that they're passing on the right or the left. And I was wondering if it's not already there, if it's possible to add a reminder for proper etiquette into the app.
Happy to report that is part of our standard onboarding flow, but more importantly, we do continuous kind of educational engagement throughout the season. So that it takes a variety of different forms. Pop-up, what are they called? Sorry, that's not the correct term. Push notifications to our riders with safety messaging, in-app messages, which is sort of like a big banner that will show up when you open the app, and also we will do continuous rider retrainings where they have to go through the sort of same onboarding flow before starting a ride periodically.
Okay, sounds good. It looks like it'll be a while, and you may never manage to get some of your devices all the way out to where I live in Porters Lake. Westfall gets me about halfway home. But I do look forward, as only an occasional bike rider, but as a techie, I look forward to checking out your devices sometime when I'm in Halifax or Dartmouth. One more comment on the app, and again, obviously I haven't seen it because I hadn't seen the pop-ups, so I probably should have loaded it and looked at it. But I didn't get a lot out of your maps that you were showing. People on the committee probably know already I'm colorblind, so color coding on maps isn't much good for me. So you could make the bikes and the e-scooters different colors on the map, and that probably wouldn't help me, but maybe you can code some high contrast option or a more accessible option into the app for those people like me who would need it. And then
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, actually, on that, Glenn, we actually do have, through the chair, we actually do have a, I believe it's called the high contrast mode available in our app for colorblind individuals to be able to see everything.
Okay, you're doing good so far.
Nice.
My only other question is, do you have a tandem e-bike for Milena?
Unfortunately, at this time, the answer is no. However, I can say we're always looking at new vehicle types. We're looking at a very interesting future vehicle pipeline, and then more to come, hopefully, in future updates together in terms of that.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thanks, Glenn. Passing on to co-chair Milena.
Thank you, Nathan, Mr. Chair. A very concise presentation, Austin. Thanks a lot for your time and coming out here and doing this. Brittany, you as well, smiley face. So Austin, for your purpose, I am completely blind and see nothing at all. I am excited about the bikes. I have very little excitement and much trepidation about the e-scooters. So I do have, so Nathan, keep my 5 minutes, keep me in check here, okay? I do have a list of questions, and number one is starting with who is paying for this pilot project?
In the sense that, oh, sorry, through the chair, but thank you very much for the question, by the way. It's actually, and Brittany, I might need HRM to weigh in for like the official kind of HRM answer to that question, but we are meant to be actually cost neutral to the city, but also providing value to the city through kind of equity programs and what have you. We're actually based on interpretation, like kind of a revenue source for the city in the sense that we don't charge the city anything to operate. In fact, we give to the city for the privilege to operate within the public right of way.
But to understand what you said, the taxpayers of HRM are not paying for this pilot project.
Correct, and I would love, actually, Brittany, is that what would the HRM agree with my statement there? I don't want to talk as a private corporation alone, but
yeah. That's okay. I can add a little bit more. So Milena, yes, it's revenue generating for the municipality. So the municipality does collect fees from Bird Canada in order for them to operate. The main cost of the municipality from budget is one staff position to oversee the project manager position. And then throughout the pilot, we'll kind of be evaluating to determine if we need additional enforcement resources, like the budget went to council if we do need additional enforcement. At this point, Bird is responsible for the majority of the enforcement of vehicles, but as we keep expanding the service and understanding how everything is working, that would be the only other cost to the municipality.
I'm sure you know where I'd go to next, but I'm going to leave it till that happens, okay? I just want to address David's quick comment there before I carry on with the questions for Austin and Brittany. David, with all due respect, that the e-scooters that were previous to Bird arriving here, there's plenty of reports in the newspapers from emergency room doctors here in Halifax and HRM reporting numerous head injuries from e-scooters. So it's, you know, that information is already there for you to be diving into, and I hope you continue to do so or start to do so, because I read many an article out of our local newspapers here on medical doctors, just to bring that up, right? The other point I will say to HRM, I think you're making a grave mistake by permitting e-scooters on multi-use paths, especially those ones that are in the busier city areas such as Bears Road, around the university areas. And we already know that people with disabilities, blind, partially sighted, those who use wheelchair mobility aids, walkers, elderly children are having issues with bicycles on multi-use paths. If we're going to put these e-scooters on the multi-use paths, I think we're causing that much more danger and hazard, because really let's look at it. Out in the outskirts, maybe, you know, Spryfield towards where the buses aren't running well, they are a great point to go from to get your groceries, point A to point B, whatever the case may be. But pretty much within the peninsula, they're nothing but a joyride. That's just a comment. There was a question, Austin, about weight from Annika, and I've seen, no pun intended, when I'm walking with sighted people, many, now this is previous to Bird, many parents with toddlers on their e-scooters. And how will you be preventing that?
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you for the question, co-chair. It's that I will say this. I cannot guarantee you that it will not happen. However, it is an egregious violation of our terms of service. It is not safe. It is against, and there's actually stickers on the scooter that like explicitly, I think that's item number 2 on our sticker, no double riding. It is firmly not allowed. And I'm happy to report Bird Canada is, I think, you know, globally the most aggressive in terms of nipping that behavior in the bud. That is grounds for an immediate irrevocable termination of your account. You know, it's a ban at the device level, so there's no other opportunities to just like make another email and make another account. So, you know, the way we look to nip that in the bud is by having our staff. We have a walking patrol called the Safe Streets team. They're going to be throughout at the HRM, and basically if we witness or even, by the way, receive a report of that behavior as well with a rough intersection and timestamp or roughly the time that it occurred, we will find that rider and process an irrevocable ban. It's not safe. It's not a good look. And technology, I can't, you know, we're improving the technology in the time all the time. So hopefully in the future we'll have something that can easily prevent that. But in the meantime, I think that's the most effective way in our path to kind of stopping that behavior, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, because I will tell you, last summer alone, I was yelled at when I was a sighted friend by 2 parents who had a 2 and a 3-year-old in front of them on the e-scooters and told me to mind my own business. They're probably right. I should mind my own business. None of my concern what they do with their kids, but in the end, right? So I'm glad to have that. Further on to that, what about drunk driving? Because we are a university zone, and I know of 3 friends, university student children, got on these things, and one ended up in emerge, and the others have broken limbs.
And thank you again for the question through the chair. Thank you, co-chair, for your question. That's another excellent question. I'm really happy you brought that up. I think, and again, Brittany will need to confirm this because I do not like speaking for HRM, but I do think one of the more compelling advantages of working with sort of a larger partner like Bird Canada is we actually have cognitive reaction time testing that we turn on during those kind of higher likelihood to be drinking hours. And so we actually have what is effectively a cognitive test to detect if your cognition's been impaired by whatever substance and prevent you from riding until the next day if you do not pass that test.
Yeah, and I can add
just
to that.
go ahead.
Austin.
Sorry, Brittany, go ahead.
Is that yeah, okay. It's just that we do have on the website and in our safety messaging that if anyone suspects that someone is dangerously riding or riding impaired, you can call 311, but you can also call the police. Like you can go through 911 and they will respond to dangerous riding and possibly intoxicated. But hopefully, with the measures that Bird have in place on their app, it's a bit more preventative in that, someone won't be able to actually unlock and use the device if they're not passing the cognition tests.
And the last question in my round here, and then I'll pass it on to everybody else. So 16 to 17 years old, you must have permission or you are permitted to use e-scooters, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. So if a parent has a 13-year-old that, because today's teenagers are not what 1950s teenagers were. And if a parent says my 12-year-old and 13-year-old can ride this, what position do you have to say they're not permitted on?
Through the chair, thank you. That's another excellent. You're asking. I would say these are really excellent questions, and I'm happy you're asking them. So, I would love to say again, we have a perfect technology to prevent that particular behavior where a child is using their parent's account, because obviously, that will happen. I think to be perfectly honest, we have different pieces of technology to try to detect that. The most effective way though is if we get reports of underage riding, / our Safe Streets team sees it. That's again grounds for an irrevocable ban from our service. It is not a good look. It is not safe. It's not okay, and it's an egregious violation of our terms of service. And right out the get-go, we're happy to prevent that behavior by frankly exiting that rider from our service.
Right. My final comment here is this: the reason I'm coming up with these harsh, because we know in Paris many deaths have been caused, and they were outlawed. And I keep going back to that. Toronto, I know of people in the same situation as myself who are blind or partially sighted are getting scared off the sidewalk of e-scooter users because they do have their faults. And last summer alone, I and my guide dog on the sidewalk were half an inch away from getting maimed. That rider on the sidewalk fell over and injured themselves. I'd like to say I gave a damn, but I did not, because it would have been my guide dog at a $70,000 cost, right? So I bring up these questions for the team here to ensure, to the best of your abilities and above and beyond, that people that are pedestrians on the sidewalks are not injured by e-scooters. I have more faith in the e-bikes than the e-scooters. End of thought.
Thank you, Milena.
Yeah.
So, David, you had your hand up at one point there too. Were you hoping to address one of the questions?
I think I'm good.
I'm going to open my mic since I had my hand up for a while. Two observations. One is I'm a little disconcerted with the absoluteness of you're sending somebody completely off for first offense.
Sorry, Peter. Just going to jump in there. Do you mind if we save that for the second round?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just one more, so you'll be able to jump in. So, sorry, I'm next. Thanks for the information. It's really heartening to see such a huge service area. Just giving such a huge swath of Halifax access to bikes is really great to see. Also, the partnership with United Way, NSCC, EAC, Enfusion Halifax is a really positive step as well, I think. You sort of, it was touched on at one point there. Just curious to see. I know Dave mentioned you're hoping to glean this from the data you collect, but who you expect the primary users to be. You mentioned first mile, last mile. Are you expecting the major user groups to be sort of tourists, students, commuters? Just any insight you have on that would be great.
And sorry, Chair, I didn't hear. Was that question for me or HRM?
Either. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, maybe I'll go
probably,
first, and then okay, sounds good. Sorry, and thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. With regards to, I love the question because first of all, Brittany is talking about data. I'm actually a data person. I'm like a data person at heart. I love the data we provide. I find it so compelling. So the perception is always these are for tourists. That's always the perception. I heard it in Ottawa a lot. So it was actually funny. Anastasia on the call is new to the team. We were looking at a data poll. One data feed we have available is to look at billing postal code and your average market of use and compare it to what it looks like your main market is. So it's still assumptive, but it's like this is your home market versus a visiting market, and we have that. It's like a data poll that we can do. We looked at Ottawa for 2024, and 80.9% of the ridership in Ottawa was local to Ottawa. And you would think, I think most people would think if they go to Ottawa, it's more for like the tourists to go see all the beautiful buildings, the art galleries downtown. It's not the case in Ottawa. It's not going to be the case in Halifax, but of course I can hopefully provide data that proves that out, right? So, I'm saying that's just, I feel very confident in it, but I can actually show that answer through data. Another key, I think, thing that we're going to be able to collect is what does the flex fare zone ridership look like versus total ridership? How do the kilometers change? How does the use case change? Like where are the flex fare riders going versus like people outside of the flex fare zones? And what do our access users look like in terms of their average use? So, and then you layer all of that in with kind of survey-based data, which collects more information that is voluntarily shared by riders. Of course, we don't actually know about our riders unless they voluntarily share information with us, like their sort of general age group, how they identify. But we're going to also be able to see differences in kind of what different rider segments look like. So what do our access users look like? What do our flex fare users look like? What do our kind of outside of the flex fare zone, I would just say, kind of average commuter look like? And I'm really excited to share that data. I'm really excited to, frankly, build up that data set throughout the season and share that data with everybody on a future review. So the answer is I don't know, but we will know, and I'm excited to see what we come up with in terms of the rider profile in HRM.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. And then just one quick question about the geofencing and sort of speed management of the bikes and the scooters. I understand as you move into a sort of a slow zone, the speed for the scooters will drop. Was it 12 kilometers an hour? I think.
Correct. It varies though. We could actually set it to any kilometers. I was just going to add.
And it's the same for the bikes. They'll be limited because they're power assisted. So the assistance will be reduced in the slow zones.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Excellent question again. So they are pedal assist e-bikes. So yes, they will slow down. However, there are pedals. So in particularly slow speed, I would say generally they adjust pretty quick. But in a no speed zone, if you are very strong, they're extremely hard to pedal without power assist. But you can If you're very determined, still move, but not very fast, I would say. So like you're sub 5 kilometers, I would, I would recommend actually it's kind of, you shouldn't try it. But if you wanted to try, we could set up a parking lot for you or something, because like if it's a no ride zone as designated by HRM, you should not be riding in that zone, but we could set up maybe a demo zone, but you would ride about 5 kilometers an hour. And at that point, you're kind of at walking speed, I would say.
Yeah. And then in terms of what I'm really getting at is here, particularly for the scooters, but also for the bikes, as you're entering a low speed zone, as you're passing that sort of geofence, I imagine the speed will gradually reduce. So, for example, there's not going to be a cyclist behind someone on a scooter that suddenly slows from 24 kilometers an hour to 12 kilometers an hour. I imagine that will gradually slow down.
Yep, correct. And in fact, if we would have like an area where the speed is desired to be 12, we'll actually build out a buffer zone accordingly, so you can kind of ease down from 20 kilometers to, or you're basically your cruising speed to that slow speed.
That's great to hear. Thank you for that. So moving into the second round, so we each have 3 minutes. Sorry, there will be 3 minutes to ask further questions or make further comments. So I know Elizabeth would like to ask a question, and Peter will move on to you next as well. And then anyone else, feel free to put your hand up if you'd like to make further comments.
Yes, thanks. I'm going to ask a question on a completely and totally different direction. I'm curious about the vehicles that will be running around the city, replacing batteries and repairing the scooters or putting them back where they're supposed to be and that sort of thing. I guess I just know that the naysayers are going to sort of say, hey, well, what about the environmental costs of that? I guess I'm curious, are they e-vehicles? Do you try to run them off peak? Do you try to find routes that take you away from, the commuter corridors that are congested when that's done? I'm just kind of curious about the logistics of how all that works.
Through the chair, excellent. I'm loving these questions. I don't know if everybody can tell I'm getting excited. That is an excellent question. So, top line answer, unfortunately, we will be using gas-powered vehicles for some of the work required. Mainly the actual recovery of, as an example, a vehicle in need of repair. We kind of use Ford Transit 250s. Now they're efficient, but they're still gas-powered, and that's a problem we're looking to solve, by the way. We're looking to lean into electrification wherever possible. Now, the devices, and I don't know if I pointed this out, I should have, that they're all swappable batteries, which actually enables us to fit more into a smaller space. So what does that mean? Well, we're really looking to lean in and explore using cargo bikes wherever possible. So that's a really effective way to kind of ensure that you're not using a gas-powered vehicle. You're able to actually, to your comment about peak hours versus off-peak hours, it's much easier to move through the city on a bike than in a transit van during those high traffic hours. So it's like also really effective for that. So we're going to be exploring leveraging cargo bikes as a big part of our operations. And then also, we actually had a conversation with HRM today about local charging zones, potentially, within developments that are upcoming in the city, to have battery storage to be able to walk. The best way to do it is walking, obviously, the most eco-friendly way. And that's actually a potential if we can have kind of local battery storage stations. So, day one, are we as carbon effective as we could be? I would say the answer is going to be no. That's the honest answer. But however, we're looking to be carbon neutral by the end of next year. To do that, we're going to have to explore a lot more options. And I'm really excited to explore those options in HRM because it's a fantastic market to try quite a few different things.
Thank you. Peter? Thanks for your patience.
All right. Thanks. The questions I've got really surround kind of the issue of people who are using scooters or bikes that are not your Bird bikes. Is there somehow seems to me, and this is maybe addressed more at Brittany and David and the whole city enforcement thing, is you have to be ready for the worst thing. Somebody gets crashes on a scooter or a bike and gets killed. Okay, you have to be, and I suspect, Austin, your company is ready for this possibility in terms of public relations. How do you address it? How do you do that? The city also will have to address this to make sure that, if it happens to be on a bird bike, that's one sort of thing. If it happens to be on another kind of scooter that's privately owned, that's a whole different question. But I think the communications need a lot of attention in advance. And I think I'll leave my point there.
Thank you, Peter. And Holly?
Thank you. I went by the view of the map as it's just a project at the moment. It's not maybe a fully developed map, but if you're having bicycles and scooters going up, say from Woodside up through the Shearwater Flyer Trail, are they going to stop working when they hit Bissett Road, or did their planned route to Lawrencetown Beach, where they included the Salt Marsh Trail and the Atlantic View Trail, are their plans going to be ruined because the bike stops working?
Through the chair. So, Holly, right now, before you ride, we actually on our map we'd show the existing operating area, but I will not sugarcoat it. People are going to try to ride somewhere. They are going to hit our operational boundary. The device is going to start beeping like crazy, slowly come to a stop because you've lost all power, and then hopefully they'll look at their phone and they'll see that they've left the operating area, and they're going to come back in and park appropriately. And to that point, they are also going to be likely a little upset that they couldn't get to their destination, and they're going to leave a comment. Now, in that circumstance, that would be the outcome. However, what we like to do on our side is that's a very important comment to us, for us to surface with HRM and say, hey, we're actually seeing that it seems like people are clearly desiring to go to this area of the city. We think we'd like to expand the operating area accordingly, and kind of get permission to do that. So our system is in that case, I want to say designed to be broken in the sense that, of course, the behavior is going to be controlled to what we're expecting, but we use that as a really great feedback point to kind of adjust our operating area if we can through the HRM. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I've noticed that a couple other areas where trails aren't included in your point of interest of going on. Also, if you're going to include an active transportation corridor like the Salt Marsh Trail, the speed limit there is 15 kilometers an hour. Not that bicyclists pay attention to that, but that's our speed limit. And your bike, if it was allowed to go there as a designated area, that bike would then slow down, correct?
Through the chair, yes, yes, it would.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Milena?
Yes, thank you. Just very quickly, to Austin, you said your bird team across Canada is 500. How many on the team here in HRM?
Through the chair, thank you, Co-Chair, for the question. I think, and Brittany, you might actually know the latest from me, but I think we're getting up to 20 so far, and it's going to keep growing throughout the season. So I imagine at kind of fulsome season, we could be as high as over 50. Now, I'll point out that many of those people, because of the seasonal nature of our business, are going to be working part-time hours. But of course, it's going to be a mix of full-time, part-time. And I'd say a ratio across Canada is 30% full-time to 70% kind of under. I forget the exact qualification of part-time, but under 32 hours, I think, a week or something like that. Whatever the qualification of part-time is.
Okay, thank you. That my concern is not part-time, full-time. It's the amount of team people that you have to deal with situations. That's my concern. Okay. Number two, and this is perhaps more towards Brittany. So Austin already mentioned that one of the e-scooter companies that was here has been incorporated into Bird. That's good. What has happened to? I think there were two others. Not that I really care, but I do feel for a local business owner, even though the local business owners with the e-scooters in the past royally outdid themselves in not keeping pedestrians safe. So what happened with the other existing e-scooter owners? What are their rules and regulations, or have they been banned from their company?
Yeah. Thanks, Milena, for the question. So I can't speculate on what, where they're pivoting with their business plans or what the specific companies are doing. I can share that bylaw M300 is the bylaw that came into effect. So as of, it would have been November, maybe the end of November, end of October, 2024. At that point, anyone who wishes to operate shared micromobility services on HRM property, like within the HRM right-of-way, has to have an agreement with HRM. And then it was just recently announced, Bird went through the quite exhaustive RFP, request for proposal process, and was the highest scorer. And so they have signed on for the contract for 2 years. But in the bylaw, it specifically defines what a shared micromobility operator is. So technically, the operators who need to have an agreement with HRM are ones that are using HRM property and using the HRM right of way in order to operate their vehicles. So companies who are not renting off of HRM property or HRM right of way technically can operate other types of business models.
Okay, thank you. And the very last question to Austin and Brittany, but more probably Austin. How quick do you think your response will be? Because the truth, let's say, but as Holly was saying, the e-scooter stops can't go beyond. People just leave their bike there, out their e-scooter there, and you have someone who's blind, partially sighted, tripping over, which has happened numerous times. Ask David how many times I've complained, or someone in the wheelchair can't get around the sidewalk. They have to take an alternate extensive route. Likewise, parents with strollers, elderly people, et cetera, et cetera. How quick will your response be, even though it's already too late? Because those of us who have no other alternative, have been inconvenienced and or potentially even injured.
Through the chair, thank you,
ahead.
Kosher, for the question. And you are absolutely right in your point that I think that where there's a saying that the best offense is a good defense, right? So the first thing is to prevent it from happening in the first place is kind of our major focus. But I think through the mix of both our walking patrol, the Safe Streets team, as well as our driving team, we are going to be able to hit or exceed that 15-minute target that we have. So we should be able to resolve it within 15 minutes is going to be our goal from day one. From today, I should say, because today is day one.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Austin.
Good luck to all of you. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll move on quickly. So we've just got around 25 minutes left. Moving on to the active transportation update. So I'd like to invite David McIsaac, representing Active Transportation for HRM, to provide the update.
Thank you, Nathan. A few kind of recent projects or cat trips to council to report on. So at council this week, we got approval for a staff report on rural active transportation, specifically rural sidewalks. Last year, we did engagement in 5 communities in rural HRM: Porters Lake, Upper Tantallon, Lucasville, Hubbards, and Musquodoboit Harbor. And we went out and we asked them, do you want sidewalks? 1, 2, are you willing to pay an area rate for those sidewalks? And 3, what should the boundary be of where that area rate should be? And that's because people who live or property owners in rural HRM pay a lower rate, and it's been since amalgamation, it's basically people in rural HRM have not been eligible for sidewalks. So I guess what we took to council there is and what they approved is that we can lower the potential area rate. Because when we were out in HRM, rural HRM, there was a lot of people who just really didn't accept the rationale behind that rate. So now we'll have to go back and get it approved again, but it should be a bit lower. We deprioritized sidewalks in Upper Tantallon and Porters Lake because the folks who participated in the engagement strongly against the sidewalk, the area rate, everything. Community of Hubbards did strong support for sidewalks there and a willingness to pay the area rate in order to get the sidewalk. So we're going to start doing planning and get them on a design cycle. We still don't have enough money to build it, but we'll do that. And we're going to go back out to Musquodoboit Harbor and Lucasville, who were not, they definitely weren't supporting the area rate, but, they were there's much more variety of opinion than in Porters Lake and Upper Tantallon. So that happened recently. I guess another thing that's happened is there's been some changes in the active transportation groups. So there used to be a group of 11 working with me. Glenn is saying that, am I cutting out for everybody? Or just Glenn?
A little crackly, but can still understand it.
Okay. So just to let you know that there are there's a group you will probably see more people and people who are not me here now talking about active transportation because most of the people who used to work in my group are now in a new group in HRM. So I won't get into that too much because it's kind of this internal bureaucratic thing, but just to see that you might not even see me again. We'll have to make a decision about who's supposed to be here representing AT, but there's a lot less AT under my responsibility now. We're starting to do our tactical reinstallations now. So we have a few bike lanes around the city that are bollard protected, but we have to take the bollards out in the winter. Most of them are going back in. The big kind of bike facility, sidewalk facility construction projects are this year are Brunswick Street and Dutch Village Road. And Dutch Village Road, I believe, is under construction now. And Brunswick Street is about to go to tender, so it'll be a construction project later in the summer. One other thing for folks interested in bicycling infrastructure is there's going to be an update. I'm not sure if it's going to be at the May Transportation Standing Committee or the June, but kind of just a check-in with everybody on the status of implementation of the regional center, all ages and abilities bikeway network, new cost projections, and a bit more information on that. I think I'll leave it at that. Is there any questions? Happy to take those.
Thank you, David. We don't have a lot of time, so rather than running through with 5 minutes each, might just go straight to putting your hand up if you've got any questions. So I think Roseanne might have had your hand up there first, so I'll pass straight to you.
Quick on the draw. Just a quick follow-up, David. So and because you were breaking up, I couldn't quite hear what you were saying. So it was about the update on the regional center network. I think you said it was going to be an update to Transportation Committee. Do you know when that is?
So if it happens in May, it'll be a week from today at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And if it's in June, you just have to go to the I think we might be doing it the second Thursday in June. But that'll be on the HRM Regional Council kind of agendas in meeting schedule there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Annika?
I'm going to ask the question I ask all the time. Any update on the bridge?
Yeah, so we gave a bit of an update at an information session that Halifax Cycling Coalition hosted a few weeks ago. On the bridge, so she's referring to the bikeway access, Annika is referring to the bikeway access to the McDonald Bridge bikeway from the Halifax side and the Halifax network. And we are still looking at options. I would say right now, the three options that we're exploring a little bit further are an at-grade connection, a shorter flyover structure or bridge structure that would sort of come down from the existing bikeway and land kind of close to where the entrance to Stadacona base is on Lorne Terrace. And now we're looking to see if other options have been opened up because the toll booths are no longer on the Dartmouth side. So there were options in the past that, you know, could have involved switching sides or that sort of thing, but we just couldn't even consider them because there wasn't space for them. But now there's space. So that's where that stands. There's a new project manager working on it, and I would love for them, once they have a bit more direction on the current process, to come to this committee and give an update.
So the interim hole in the fence idea that was floating around a year ago is no longer being explored, or? Okay.
It's being explored, and it's a little bit on the shelf now, mainly because of concerns about conflicts between people bicycling and e-scootering and people using George Dixon Park, because that access point, in order to get from the bridge bikeway to kind of bike paths on the west and north of the peninsula, the idea was you would go through George Dixon Park on an existing multi-use pathway, get up to Charles Street, and then you could go from there in all kinds of different directions. But George Dixon Park is not ideal. It's the only thing there is, but it's still not ideal. And I think we want to explore a few more options before we go back there. The other issue with that option was it would have involved people bicycling and people walking, kind of sharing the space on the Halifax side. And it's a really tight space. There's slope to deal with. And we just weren't really satisfied that it was going to work, especially for people walking. So we need to do more work on that. So we're not there yet. But there's a lot of attention to it right now. We're not giving up.
Thank you. Vice Chair Molina?
Thanks, Nathan. David, sorry, you were, it was crackling. Whatever you're doing now is fabulous on the volume and the coming through clear. You said tenders going for Brunswick Street, and then what was the other one? Because that's the one that I missed for bike lane.
Dutch Village Road, I believe that one is under construction now, or will be very soon.
Okay, and when do you think potentially Brunswick Street will start? I know you don't know, but
I don't know, but I suspect it would start midsummer.
Okay, good to know. And I know you probably won't believe me, but I will be really, really sad if we don't ever see you here again. I really will. I hope you're back.
Okay.
David. And the
I
thought.
think it's good to mix it up.
And
All right. Any other questions or comments from the committee for David? David, you've got
Nathan,
another point?
I would say, there's not a lot of new people here on the committee, but if there's certain issues or topics or questions that you have, and you'd like either the staff person who's at the meeting to address it, or even if you'd like, another staff person in HRM to come to the committee to talk about some particular issues, those we can set that up, just either through the clerk or through Nathan, if that's something that you'd like. If there's a particular issue, just feel free to send that to them, and we can follow up at a future meeting.
Thank you, David. Yeah, that's a great point. I think, Roseanne, you mentioned about sort of the criteria for success for the micromobility project. That's something we could try and address in the future. Yeah, and again, maybe in the future we could ask about some of the updates on the bridge project. David, you mentioned the new manager in that area, so thank you for reminding us of that. All right, so we have no added items. The date of our next meeting is the 19th of June, 2025. So Roseanne, you've got a comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, just before we wrap up, it's sort of a follow-up from David's last comments, and that is, as a new committee member, I am struggling a little bit to really understand the relationship of this committee to council, to active transportation. So it would be really helpful for, and I'm speaking on my behalf, but I assume for the other new members as well, for a little bit of a primer on kind of what is our role as an advisory committee, what role do we play, what constitutes advice, do we see reports and review and make recommendations, or are we at the pleasure of council if they have a question? So I just, it would be very helpful for me, and I feel like I would be a more productive committee member if we had a chance to kind of review some of the mechanisms of this committee and our relationship to council, and how we should be thinking about the information that we're hearing at committee meetings. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, if I can answer to that. In the package I was sent to you, the terms of reference and some documents were sent. So if you can just take your time to read those documents, you find answers to your questions.
I did read them and they were helpful.
Okay.
But I think what would be most helpful is the kind of real life experience of committee members in terms of how you think about the information that is received at this committee and how you see our role. I'm just trying to figure out in terms of making comment and making, asking questions, what's appropriate and what's helpful for the role of this committee. And it would be helpful to have a conversation with the committee about what's the most effective way for us to bring those comments and thinking forward.
Oh, okay, sure, fine. We can include that in our next agenda and see how we go from there. And also, you can also send me an email just to get more clarification of any of your requests.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roseanne. Yeah, that's a great point. And thanks, Oliver. Maybe if we have time in the next meeting to discuss that, because we also have the option of creating subcommittees, and there's other points around that we can discuss. So, Melanie, you've also got a quick comment?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I just wanted to say for the 3 people that showed up for our informal meeting, thanks for weathering the journey. We will reschedule, and hopefully we will have a better temperature, and for the social, and Roseanne and everybody else, we can discuss not heavily, but more of a fun thing. Again, it will be at the Public Gardens, just to get to know each other a little bit more for the new ones and the ones that have been around. So I apologize for the weather. Well, I can't apologize, but thanks to those who showed up. So that's it, Mr. Chair, Nathan.
It was a nice walk in the rain.
Oh, good. To you especially, Glenn. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Melanie. Great. Well, that brings us to the end of the meeting. So as I said, the next meeting is 19th of June. But otherwise, I'd like to adjourn this meeting of the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Thank you,
Would you like a
everyone.
motion to adjourn? I can make
Oh,
one.
yes. Pardon me. I'd like to move to adjourn this meeting of the Active Transportation.
I so move.
Sorry, I call for a movement to adjourn.
Peter
Thank you, Peter.
couldn't jump out of the chair in fast enough.
Is there a second?